from CTEH in Little Rock, Arkansas, headed towards the metal manufacturing plant fire that happened in Ohio. We have that plane that crashed and everybody on board died. This is all yesterday. Then we have the uranium fire at a Y12 plant in Tennessee. And then you also have yesterday late came out that Dole, the fruit vegetable place, Dole, they had cyber attack. They were cyber attacked. So there's a lot that happened.
I just wanted to stop and say, this is that new girl that I've been listening to, Squirrel Vibe, Squirrel Vibes, or something like that, the name of her channel. I'm going to continue playing her for a few more videos because she is pretty good. She lost one of the videos that I liked, and she lost it. They took it down on her. She hasn't said nothing about it yet that I've heard, but this video here that I'm playing goes back about a week ago, and she is really connecting a lot of dots that nobody in the mainstream and none of the conspiracy sites, I'll call them, I don't know, Russell Brand, Redacted, these guys, they're not talking about a lot of the things she's putting together dots. Maybe they don't have time. Maybe they're just distracted with what they got on their plate, and they're not connecting everything. And I'm saying dots on purpose because that's what she calls them, connecting the dots, and she's putting some time into it.
Happened yesterday on Wednesday, February 22nd, because today should be the 23rd. And we're going to talk about a couple things here, but I want you to understand that when I explain these things that I am finding, it's concerning to me when you start connecting dots, and I want to explain to you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's start with the plane crash yesterday. So the plane crash was a big deal. It happened yesterday around 12:02 p.m. according to what I found. A plane took off from the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport in Little Rock, Arkansas around 11:45. Okay, I need y'all to keep these things in mind. Took off around 11:45, and according to them, crashed around 12:02 p.m. It was said that it only traveled 1 mile from takeoff till crash time. You're telling me it took 17 minutes to go 1 mile and crash on this plane, which I find very, very hard to believe. But here's what's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things to this. Yes, it's still devastating. 5 people lost their lives. But I need you to hear these things that I have found and put together, and then I want to know your thoughts, so leave comments below. By the way, hi, Squirrel.
But she's afraid to call it a hoax, probably because her videos will get shut down. So she's trying to be very careful about what she's calling a hoax or not. So
Tribe, happy Thursday. So listen, it says here the plane was headed towards John Glenn Columbus International Airport in Ohio. A spokesperson for CTEH, which is the plane and the group of people were employees of CTEH. It was a CTEH owned plane. I cannot figure out who owned the plane, but it was piloted by a CTEH employee. So I have to assume, which I know we try not to assume anything, but I'm going to assume that it was a private company plane that was being used, okay? But it says here, a spokesperson for CTEH said this group was responding to an incident at a metal plant in Bedford, Ohio. CTEH was previously working in East Palestine after the train derailment, according to the EPA, okay? There's currently no information on what caused the crash. During the time of the crash, wind gusts were reportedly as high as 40 miles per hour at the airport. Now, this is what I need you guys to know. I looked everywhere for the National Weather Service, everything, because one of the news stations in Little Rock, Arkansas had they did like a televised thingy from the crash site yesterday, and they said that the National Weather Service had issued a severe wind and whatever bulletin. I pulled up National Weather Service. I could not find the severe wind bulletin. It did not rain in Little Rock, Arkansas anytime around the time that the plane crashed. The temperature was in the low 70s at the time. Precipitation was like under 1% precipitation. I cannot find anything to support what they are saying of 40 miles an hour at that time, except for one little piece that I found. But what I want to explain to you, we're going to jump down here first. So this is the path that they were going to take. Technically from here, Little Rock, Arkansas, up here to Ohio, to the metal manufacturing plant. That is the path. You guys can see the direction that we're going. We are going, look, don't mind me, never eat shredded wheat. We're going technically northeast. We're going northeast to go from Little Rock all the way up to Ohio, right? East Palestine area. I don't know, remember what it starts with. It's a B, something B is the city, Bedford, Ohio, up to Bedford, Ohio. Now, where this plane crashed was literally right outside the doors of a 3M plant in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I put in the address for the plant. I need you to see, this is where the plane took off from. This is the plant, okay, down here. This is the direction the plane should have been going to head to Benton, Ohio? I still think that's right, Benton, Ohio. To head towards the metal manufacturing plant. But they ended up crashing right here. According to things that I read, it said that they took off at a southeast direction. Never eat shredded wheat, so they should have been going this way. So even if they were taking off from here, they should have been going more that direction. That down there is southeast. This is not southeast, in case anybody's curious. That is southeast. And instead, they went southwest, I guess you could say. That would be southwest. And then crashed right by the 3M plant. That is just weird to me. I know when planes take off, sometimes they go this way and have to loop around. But the fact of the matter was, if they took off going southeast, they would have looped up this way. But the way that where they crashed means they took off.
Okay, this screen is December 31st, 2022 on the Miguel Everyone channel. Digital collection of electromagnetic nanocarbon from the cloud level.
Off and went southwest instead of going southeast. There's no reason to go southwest, just so everybody's fully aware. There is a thing that I found that said that there was a wind gust headed in the direction of northwest, this way. So the only reason I could think that they would possibly be headed southwest was to kind of get in line with the gust of wind, as opposed to fly kind of into the gust of wind. But even that doesn't really make perfect sense. You still would keep your same path. I can't find anywhere, I looked everywhere, y'all, but I can't find anywhere that will show me the flight plan for the plane that went down. I guess because, you know, I'm a citizen or whatever. I'm not part of the FAA, or is it FAA? Yeah. Or the NTSB, in National Transportation Security Board, whatever, NTSB. I can't find anything on it. All I know was that it supposedly took off southeast, ended up crashing southwest. There was the average wind speed that day was 11.9 miles per hour. There happened to be a gust of 46 miles per hour, but it doesn't say what time that wind gust was. And they're
So is everybody noticing how their internet's slowing down? We're almost back to AOL type shit happening with our computers. Even people with updated computers are going through similar problems. High-end video gamers and all that, everyone's internet speed is slowing down. No one's paying attention. There's major shit going on and no one's paying attention. Because I'm going through it right now on all three of these systems, all three of these computer systems, two of them being direct internet and the other one going to internet when I go and transfer the videos.
going to try to say that it was the exact same time that this.
I'll also mention too, because I was thinking about it the other day, you know, every time we talk about our videos, we think that there are videos, and that's why I'm trying to get people to remaster my videos rather than share them or like them. If you want to share them, then that's fine. I'm okay with that, but it's not like you can rely on them to be there. Because like this girl here, she just did that video the other day, a really good video. She put a lot of time into the investigation work on the Ohio train accident. They're calling it an accident, but she's pointing out some really good points that maybe it was not so accidental. And then the video got taken down in one day. It's not there. And I don't know if she did anything today. Her channel, she might be locked out of this channel. I'd have to go and look and see where her backup channel is.
This plane crashed. Here's the other thing about this plane crash, okay? Y'all, this is a lot, and I understand. I'm rabbit holing the crap out of this, but there is a reason, because dots, they need to be connected. You have a bunch of dots sitting out there. All you have to do is look at how they connect, because they will always connect. So here's the thing with the plane. According to this, there was a gentleman named Dennis Gordon, who was outside just hanging out on the street at around the time of this plane crash. And according to this, Dennis Gordon told the Arkansas Democrat Gazette that he was standing on a street nearby when the nearby the crash when he heard the wind pick up, okay, and then an explosion. He did not say he heard a crash. He said he heard an explosion. Gordon told the paper that several smaller explosions followed and then a huge fire. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to know about this. According to what I found and what I looked up, I tried to see exactly how planes crash or whatever else. So I said, do aircraft explode when they hit the ground? And according to this, like in the movies, do aircraft really explode or disintegrate upon crashing? And what I have come up with here after searching numerous different things, whether an aircraft explodes on impact depends on the size of the plane, the level of fuel remaining in the fuel tank, and the angle and direction of impact. In this article, we discuss how factors cause an aircraft to explode and how pilots are able to avoid the aircraft breaking up during crashes. So if this plane crashed within 1 mile after takeoff, we have to assume it had very full fuel tanks, right? So I could see how that would catch fire. But according to this, the words explosion and disintegration are oftentimes used to describe the situation of the aircraft upon impact. Aircraft may certainly explode or disintegrate upon crashing, but Hollywood may exaggerate the extent of the explosion for dramatic effects, blah, blah. Crashes are thankfully uncommon thanks to improvements in aircraft manufacturing technology and detailed safety manuals. Explosions can be caused by the crash itself or can be the cause of a crash. For example, an aircraft crashing into a valley may then lead to a crash, or a bomb exploding on board an aircraft may cause a crash. Just want to put that out there real quick. A bomb exploding on board may lead to an aircraft crashing. These are a couple things I want you to keep in mind. The plane had just taken off. It was less than a mile away from the airport. It was not high up enough to have a massive crash. Think about any time you've ever flown, if you've ever flown. The first few minutes of takeoff, I mean, you're at a mile, like almost immediately, and you're still relatively low to the ground. Generally speaking, a lot of times those are easy ones to land or to maneuver or whatever else. And this one, carrying 5 people, was less than a mile away from the airport and right next to the 3M plant when it just happened to crash and kill every single person on board. But the people around talked about hearing explosions. Nobody said they heard a crash, okay? I need y'all to keep that part in mind. Let's see, what else do we have here? Aircraft crashing into land or water almost always leads to disintegration. Where a third phenomenon
Why is it
known as
moving so
ignition
slow,
may
or
occur.
it's not moving at all?
Aircraft fuel tanks tend to hold a large amount of fuel, which may be ignited during a crash, causing
That's
fire
why.
to spread around the aircraft. Nevertheless, ignition of the aircraft only occurs if the fuel tank is broken and the airplane fuel is able to leak into the main fuselage. Okay, so crashing into the ground at a higher velocity may increase the likelihood that the fuel tanks will burst and therefore will cause a fire through ignition. But according to these things, it's not that often that your aircraft is going to explode and have massive balls of fire. Good Lord, great balls of fire, whatever that song is. And especially when you're less than a mile away from the airport, you have not been able to reach even like an eighth of the altitude you're supposed to be at for a plane. But the fact that these people said they heard explosions and then other smaller explosions and then saw a fire, y'all, it sounds wrong to me. Something does not sound right here, and I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, ma'am, you're crazy," but no, you have to literally sit there and think about it and look at it and understand exactly what they're not telling you, and look that way. So this one here, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was the fact that CTEH. Let me find my articles. Can y'all see? Can y'all see how many little tabs I have open up here? Because there's a lot going on. Now, according to this, Schumann and Co. I think that's how you spell it. Schumann and Co. That is who owns the metal manufacturing plant in, is it Benton? Where is it? Bedford, Ohio. Y'all, there we go. In Bedford, Ohio. I want you to hear this. Schumann and Co. has been around for a long time. It was founded back in 1925. This established company loves to hire graduates from Northwood University, with 28.6% of its employees having attended Northwood University. Schumann & Co. is a great place to work and is featured as number 13 on Zippia's list of best companies to work for in Bedford, Ohio, blah, blah, blah. They are a small construction company with only 100 employees and an annual revenue of $42.3 million. Again, founded in 1925, this is a private organization, and they are considered a metal supplier, okay? So that's the first thing that I found here. Now, according to this research summary, using a database of 30 million profiles, go back. Sorry. So they have 100 employees. 12% of their employees are women. 88% are men. The most common ethnicity at Schumann & Co. is white, 76%. 10% of employees are black or African American. 9% are Hispanic or Latino. The average employee makes $53,392 per year, and on average, most of the employees stay with the company for 5.7 years. Okay, those are really nice numbers, right? Especially for the amount of money they make and how long they stay. Now, they do have competitions. Their main competitors are Traco, Northwestern Industries, and Mansfield Plumbing Products. Competitor salaries. So UFP Industries has the most employees at 14,000. Employees at Traco earn more than most of the competitors with an average salary of $56,094. The oldest company is Conair, founded in 1906. These are all important. Stay with me here. Now, what I want you to know is I pulled up LinkedIn, the Schumann LinkedIn, and now it won't let me get in to tell you what I found. Well, isn't that some shiz? Okay, so let's go this way instead. So CTEH was just bought out by a company called Montrose, all right? Now, Montrose is the second largest, hold on. I'm skipping ahead. Let me not do that. So Montrose, the future of environmental solutions, all right? Our environment faces many challenges. That is why we need to collaborate to help address today's needs and, more importantly, to envision and create solutions for the future, blah, blah, blah. They work on testing and lab services, leak detection and repair, soil and groundwater remediation, water treatment. They also do chemical manufacturing, power generation, oil and gas, natural gas, real estate development, ethanol production. Now, what's important to know about this company here is the fact that their second largest shareholder is BlackRock, with 5.8% of their shares. Now, Montrose, and just in this year alone, in 2023, January 6th, Montrose Environmental Group acquires Frontier Analytical Laboratories. They bought a laboratory. Then on February 10th, they acquired Environmental Alliance, Inc., expanding consulting and engineering services in the Mid-Atlantic. So they're buying up all these, I don't know if I would call them competitors, but they're buying up all these smaller individual companies that are privately owned.
So this one may fall outside the feline canine. Yeah. Image within image within image. There's all faces. Eye, nose, mouth. Hairdo going on up here. Facial hair. Go on to the next one and come over. And the one that I'm trying to get to, it's the larger version of this one that goes with this big eye right here. And the other eye is right here. Okay? So those two eyes, right here and right here, go with this whole snout. He doesn't look like he falls in the feline canine, ape, rodent, human, or beast. I say that because of what's coming out. It looks like what's coming out of his mouth right here and in the lips. I don't know. I have to look at it a while.
Companies, they're buying them up, and BlackRock now owns all of these little companies. In a sense, they have a portion of all these companies underneath their belt. Y'all hear that? I think it's the person above me. I thought it was thunder at first, but it's the person above me making all kinds of noise. Now, here's what's interesting here. let me just talk to you really fast about BlackRock. In March 2020, the Federal Reserve chose BlackRock to manage two corporate bond buying programs in response to the coronavirus pandemic: the $500 billion Primary Market Corporate Credit Facility, or PMCCF, and the Secondary Market Corporate Credit Facility, SMCCF, as well as purchased by the Federal Reserve System of commercial mortgage-backed securities guaranteed by Government National Mortgage Association, Federal National Mortgage Association, or Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporations. In August of 2020, BlackRock received approval from the China Securities Regulatory Commission to set up a mutual fund business in their country. This made BlackRock the first global asset manager to get consent from the Chinese government to start operations in the country. Now, in January of 2020, PNC sold its stake in BlackRock. They got rid of their stake in BlackRock. And I need you to know that PNC is having issues right now. As of 2021, BlackRock owns 7.5% of HSBC Holdings PLC, making it the second largest shareholder after Ping An Insurance.
Music again from
And
another
here we
angle.
go. Hold on. Oh, here we go.
K9,
On December
I can get
28,
him to go
2022,
K9,
it was
man.
announced that BlackRock and Volodymyr
Yeah, man.
Zelensky had been in contact for several months, and that BlackRock was
Just
to
here,
play
it's
a
right here.
principal role
Tongue,
in
lip
Ukraine's
area.
reconstruction. The arrangement was criticized, with BlackRock being accused of cashing in on Ukrainian destruction.
I
I
lost a
have
large
high
eye that way.
distrust for BlackRock as a company, Vanguard also, but definitely BlackRock itself. The fact that BlackRock has investment in, what did I call this place? Montrose, which just acquired CTEH, and BlackRock also has investment in, oh, so much going on. Okay, I'm trying to keep all my dots together. So they also have investment in railways and in businesses and buildings, and they're trying to buy out more businesses and buildings throughout the country. It all just starts to, y'all, it's so much. It starts to go together, and it's just so much. So here's the thing: the investments in China. It says in August 2021, BlackRock set up its first mutual fund in China after raising over $1 billion from 111,000 Chinese investors. BlackRock became the first foreign-owned company owned by the Chinese government to operate a wholly owned business in China's mutual fund industry. Writing in the Wall Street Journal, George Soros described BlackRock's initiative in China as a tragic mistake that would damage the national security interests of the U.S. and other democracies.
Right, because they all pretend to be enemies when really they're all working together.
In October of 2021, nonprofit group Consumers Research launched an ad campaign criticizing BlackRock's relationship with the Chinese government. And then in December of 2021, it was reported that BlackRock was an investor in two companies that had been blacklisted by the U.S. government for human rights abuses against the Uyghurs. I don't know how to say this. In Xinjiang, I don't know. In one case, BlackRock increased its level of investment after the company's blacklisting. Now, the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because
Okay, so anybody coming to my videos right now that's watching this, come on. Come on. Come on. I know you can see this. You know what I'll say while I'm doing this too? All these lines in here work just like the timelines in the moon. It's pretty incredible as far as when I'm cropping. All these lines that are coming through, throughout, and it also, the lightning also works the same way. Lightning will trace out the imagery. It's all an electromagnetic nanocarbon system. And I'm only in one direction, so I could be going upside down with this and everything too.
What is
I don't
happening
know.
right now in our country with our farmland and with our houses and things like that? A majority of it is being purchased by Chinese corporations. We had people during the pandemic when houses were going for like stupid amounts of money. A lot of Chinese investors were buying up houses like left and right. I'm not quite sure why. We have them buying up farmland. I think Hong Kong now owns Smithfield, the bacon. I can't bring myself to buy bacon anymore when I go to the grocery store if it says Smithfield on it, or pork loins or whatever else. It is now owned by a company out of Hong Kong. So the fact that BlackRock is the first foreign-owned company allowed by the Chinese government to operate a wholly owned business in China's mutual fund industry screams negative things to me. Like, I don't think you guys understand, and I don't really know how to 100% show you how my mind sees things. I try here with the words and with what I found, and hopefully you guys can kind of understand where I'm going with this. The name's Squirrel Tribe for a reason, y'all. I'm a squirrel. I'm all over the place, but it's because it's hard to find this dot and not see how it connects to this one and then that one and then that one over there and that one over there, which is why I can't give you guys just this easy categorized little thing with point A, point B, point C, because it goes point A to Z to Q to B to 3.9. Like, numbers are in there somehow. So I'm just trying to show you guys what I find when I start looking. And when I find something, the next question that pops up takes me over here, and the next question takes me down here. But right now, what I'm seeing is that BlackRock has a hand in a lot of companies having to do with our environment, having to do with looking into disasters that are happening around the country, like, I don't know, train derailments that happen to be carrying toxic chemicals that will kill people, and in metal manufacturing plants that happen to make shell casings and things like that, and then there's an explosion there. They have a hand in all of that, and then also in China. And who benefits from us basically imploding from the inside the most? China. I don't think people understand that yes, Russia sucks and they have something to gain from us having issues over here, but China has the most to gain from us imploding from the inside, and they also have the most to lose from us not imploding from the inside. You know what I'm saying? We talked yesterday about the fact that Biden, President Biden, Joe Biden, Grandpa Joe, Sleepy Joe, whatever you want to call him, dementia-riddled Biden, had I don't know if he made a law or whatever he called it. You know, my brain, sometimes there's too much going on. It's hard for me to figure out how to say things. He did that thing with the chip. Intel is going in here, the Intel chip processing facilities, where for the first 10 years they were in, they cannot buy anything or do anything with China. China is not going to like that. That's going to hurt them, because right now they are a massive producer of all the things we need when it comes to batteries and things like that. And if we bring the ability back home into the United States of America to do this and we cut them out, they are losing a ton of money. The easiest way to ensure they don't lose money is to make it almost impossible for us to do the things we need to do to be self-sufficient. The easiest way to do that is to start just at making us implode from the inside. Train derailments, metal processing plant derailments, water issues. I don't know that, how they would be part of that, but I'm sure.
Yeah, bird flu, disease, it's all coming down. The entire agricultural system, it's all fucked up.
Sure that there's a way to link it to them. I'm not going to lie. So this plane going down yesterday carrying the 5 people from CTEH that were headed to do their research on why there was an explosion at this metal manufacturing facility. It feels intentional, because what are the odds that it just happened to be a plane of the same people that were just in East Palestine, Ohio, doing work there, trying to figure out what caused the derailment there? It's a lot. I understand it's a lot, but y'all, it all goes together. Unfortunately, it all goes together. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys here about is the Tennessee, Tennessee uranium. So the first thing I looked up, I typed in Tennessee uranium explosion fire, whatever, trying to see what would come up. And the first thing that popped up was just this little excerpt, excuse me, that says for 40 years, the 2,200 acre East Tennessee Technology Park was home to a complex of facilities that enriched uranium. The site dates back to the World War II Manhattan Project and operated until 1985. In addition to defense missions, the plant also produced enriched uranium for the commercial nuclear power industry. So I was like, okay, but I don't think that's exactly where this issue was. So the fire was at a uranium processing facility, nuclear safety officials say. They say a fire was contained. This is in Knoxville, Tennessee, by the way. The fire at I don't know if you're supposed to say Y12 or Y-12, Y through 12. I'm not quite sure. We're just going to call it Y12. A fire at the Y12 National Security Complex uranium processing facility in Oak Ridge, Tennessee has been contained, officials from the National Nuclear Security Administration said. They said that there was a fire at the uranium processing building 9212 on Wednesday at around 9:14 a.m., and that several hundred employees from building 9212 and others were evacuated. At 12:30, an update from Y12 stated all evacuated workers were accounted for and no injuries or contaminations were found. Air monitors did not go off, which means there was no release of radioactive materials. Officials said they did not know yet what caused the fire. Now, Tennessee is downwind from what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, with all the chemicals being let go in the air. And depending on the way the wind is going, we know that according to what happened in Little Rock, Arkansas, they said the wind was traveling northwest. So technically, it should not have gone from East Palestine down to Tennessee. It should have gone straight this way. So I don't think that has anything to do with anything, because we did talk about the fact that things that are in the air or in the water, they now have chemicals in them that could cause explosions and things at other places. I don't think that had anything to do with what happened here. But it says the investigation is ongoing. They're still in the process of figuring out exactly what the timeline is on what happened this morning. There are no worries for community members, and there was no contamination because of the fire. Other parts of Y12 are back to normal operations. Now, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So, according to this, Y12 National Security Complex, they manufacture parts for America's nuclear weapons, stores nuclear materials, and provides enriched uranium to the U.S. Navy. They are the fourth largest employer in Knoxville with 7,800 employees total. Now, this says that the security complex has been in Oak Ridge since 1943 when the 811-acre Y12 was built as part of the Manhattan Project. So this was added onto the one I talked about in the beginning. Consolidated Nuclear Security has operated Y12 since previous contractor B&W was fired after anti-nuclear protesters broke into the facility in 2012. So in October of 2022, it was announced that the National Nuclear Security Administration would extend its contract with Consolidated Nuclear Security to operate Y12 after terminating its contract with a different company. Less than a month ago, officials celebrated the construction of a new fire station and emergency operations center at the complex. They replaced buildings that had been built back in the 1940s. Now, the problem here is that this building here, 9212, was completed in November of 1945. It's been there since 1945. It is the location of the first production of uranium metal at Y12 and the earliest nuclear weapons production facility at Y12. It continues to serve as one of the primary chemical processing and enriched uranium production facilities at Y12. The problem is that it is the oldest building with the highest nuclear safety risk at the Y12 National Security Complex due to its age. Why are they still using it if it has the highest nuclear safety risk out of all of the buildings? Why are they still using it? And then there just happens to be a small fire there yesterday. So if they do not move them to a new building, the next fire they can say, well, it's because they're in such an old building and whatever else. They say that the building's design predates modern nuclear safety codes. So whoever works there and who happens to be around there, it sounds like you're in an unsafe place, if you ask me, according to what they are saying, that it is they're calling it not safe. So there is that. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about, I don't have anything on why the fire started. I know that it was contained, and that's all I can find. I could not find anything anywhere else about it. I went high, I went low, I went everywhere. I hit Rumble, I hit Reddit, I hit every single thing, BitChute, I hit everything I could think of trying to find stuff, and I couldn't find anything on why the fire started. But what I do want to mention really quickly is the fact that we talked about how these things that are happening in East Palestine is also going to affect our food because, you know, the hydric acid, hydraulic acid, the acid that's in the air and in the things that are in the water and the soil now are going to affect the way food is grown. But I was thinking about this earlier. They keep saying how 3,500 fish have died. Like, they just keep saying 3,500 fish. How come they haven't talked about the snakes, the toads or frogs, the alligators if there's
Or the microorganisms that are in the water, even better, that the fish and all those things eat.
alligators, I don't know. Any other aquatic life. All they're saying is fish. There are more than just fish who live in water, just FYI. They haven't talked about the plants that may have died. They're not saying anything about the animals that are drinking from the water. If the fish die in the water, shouldn't the animals that drink from the water also be dead? Shouldn't you see birds just like all over the place dead? Shouldn't you see deer that have drunk from the water dead somewhere? Like, but they're only saying that so far fish have died, 3,500 fish, and that's it, and everything else is safe and fine. And I'm calling BS, just FYI. I was just thinking about that yesterday. But then somebody sent me this thing about the Dole processing plant saying that it was, it had gone through some cyber attack. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that real fast. But before.
So if you follow the Dole family name back and you follow it back in history, they are some just as big a scum as BlackRock. You know, all the companies that she's naming off, they're all involved. And if you go back and I can even go back as far as the Great Depression and what brought the Great Depression on. This is going to make the Great Depression look like the fucking light recession. I mean, this one's going to be way bigger. But the names that she's naming off, they've all been connected all along. They all play like they're all enemies, but they're all making billions of dollars together.
Before I do that, I want to mention this to you. Let me see if I can get this to come up. You guys see this, right? This is the photo that everybody has seen from the derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Photo shared, this is what's interesting. Photos shared by the Ohio National Guard on Twitter show guardsmen suiting up in gas masks and full hazmat suits to collect samples in the village. Posted in a since-deleted tweet. A National Guard photo shows the giant pillar of smoke from the crash site and its proximity to East Palestine. Why did they delete the tweet? That's what I want to know. Why did they delete the tweet? What else was in there that would have given something away or shown something that should not have been seen? Why did they delete the tweet that the National Guard put up? I had issues with that when I saw that. The other thing I wanted to mention to you guys here is this. Now, a lot of people are like, you know, if you're hazmat, if you're going in to check for stuff, you have to wear a suit, you have to do whatever else. Here's the thing. In the businesses I've been in and the things that I've done, I know how hazmat stuff works. I also know when there is a hazmat situation, you get rid of everybody who's in the area that's not wearing hazmat safe protocol or protection. So explain to me why this dude in orange is suited and booted, like he's suited up for hazmat protection, and Broski over here in just his regular old jacket and a baseball cap. If it was bad, why isn't he covered up? If it was safe, well, I mean, they have to be covered up. But the problem here is these two things are what cause confusion. The fact that they send out people in these hazmat suits to go test the air, test the water, test the soil, while allowing residents and other people to be in the area not suited up says a lot to me. And the problem here is I don't know if we're being played. And I want to put it out there like that because the more I sit here and look at things, the more I have to question the flip side of it in East Palestine. The more I have to question what.
We're definitely being played, but the thing is, it's the 7.8 billion. It's all of us that are allowing ourselves to be played. We love to be lied to. We love to lie to each other. We love to hear each other's lies, tell each other lies. So if we can come around to any reality and truth about anything, I don't know.
What else could it be? Because here's the issue. And y'all, this is my brain working while we're talking. People have said that there is a government, there's some sort of law that if the land is uninhabitable, it can be purchased by the government. So if that was the case, you would think that the EPA people would go in there and go, oh, nope, this land is royally screwed. You guys got to get out. You have to leave. This is no good. You got to go. And then it would be a ghost town that then the government or BlackRock or any China could come in and go, you know what, I'll buy it up from you. I'll take it. You can't do anything with it anyway. We'll figure out something for it. And that would be that, right? But the fact that the EPA is continuously going in there and Norfolk Southern is continuously going in there going, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong here, not a big deal, everything's fine, whatever. That bothers me because I don't know what their end game is, what the play here is. Because in one way, the citizens don't trust it. So you're going to have citizens who will willingly, when somebody says, hey, you know what, I can tell you, you don't feel safe here, you don't like it here, let me buy your stuff off you. They're going to be like, all right, here's my house, take it. But I want fair market value for where I have to go. Like, try to get more money out of them. And then you leave. And then whoever comes in and buys all this stuff up can still do whatever they want. I don't, it bothers me that there's no consistency anywhere. I think that's what my issue is. There's no consistency. You have the people that are testing stuff in full hazmat, like things are bad, 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 while also having a resident or somebody else right next to you fully fine in a t-shirt and hat and jacket and like it's nothing. There's no consistency. There's nothing wrong here, and there's no it's bad here. It's a 50-50 mashup that makes it hard for you to wrap your mind around what is really truly happening at this East Palestine site. So this picture, it says members of the Ohio National Guard.
So we went from digital collection of EMNC at the cloud level to the water. And as you can see, it's still feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast everywhere we look. So one thing I noticed, I'll just point out a few things. Okay, so you got human influence, I guess we'll call it, because you got a rope right here. You got a bunch of rocks, of course, because the rocks were thrown in here to make the stream bed. So I was catching an eye up here, and this eye, I bet you is gonna, I'm not gonna bet you, I can tell you right now, it's definitely gonna be a rock. There's gonna be a rock under here, because the same eye is still here after I press play. There's also a nose here, and another eye over here. This eye, this nose, and this mouth down here of this very large human face stayed there when I pressed play. So those are all going to be where there's going to be rocks. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to watch all 5 of those spots at the same time. Yep. So I moved the camera a little bit when I was doing this, but that's okay, because there's still the eye, here's the nose. But I shifted the camera a little bit, so I'm changing my angles of perspective. And then the mouth was down here. It's always going to be image within image within image everywhere we look, because we're going to be, it's amazing. I think it'll transfer pretty good. I think you guys will be able to see it with me cropping. Anyways, this is running water, the river, the stream leading to the river, whatever it is.
Guard's 52nd Civil Support Team conduct tests for toxic chemicals in East Palestine, Ohio. The National Guard are the one who went in to do this, not EPA. Norfolk Southern didn't send anything in. It's the Ohio National Guard that was called in by Governor DeWine. DeWine, is that how you say his name? He's the one who called in the National Guard, and this was 3 days after the derailment, side note. They didn't come in day 1, day 2. It was on February the 6th that they called in National Guard to come help get everybody out of town. You would think that they would have done that sooner, because even the day that the train derailed on February 3rd, and there was the fire, as the firefighters were there putting it out, at that point, they knew that there were chemical tankers on there, or tankers, is that what you call them? That they were on there, and they should have evacuated everybody then, but they waited 3 days to evacuate everybody. Then the EPA didn't even do it themselves. National Guard came.
So that's why I'm really not trying to collect anything down here, and I'm pointing out the rocks and the river and everything like that. It also happens in layers, because you have the waves on top of the water, Then you have wind blowing it in different directions aside from the current itself. And then you have the stones underneath adding another layer of visual to the whole thing. But I'm extracting from the top of the water, so I'm purposely leaving out the rocks and stones that are under the water that are making the water splash. That's how technical I'm being about it visually when I'm collecting the imagery. So I'm collecting in layers. I can go to the bottom of the lake and collect the imagery from all those stones, even though they're adding light and texture and the rocks and the stones that are at the bottom, they're adding different shadows, lights and shadows. Other than the texture that I'm talking about, that these larger rocks that are splashing off, these rocks are down below the water. They're not adding any interference to the waves, I guess we'll call them, the texture on the top of the water.
Came in because at the request of DeWine and whoever it is in Pennsylvania, starts with the S, can't remember his name. Between the two of them, they requested it since Pennsylvania is right there on the border of East Palestine, Ohio. So that bothered me. Let me see. I had another article here before we get back to the whole Dole thing. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place. So Ohio train derailment. Transportation Secretary Pete. Y'all have told me how to say this. Booty Judge, Booty Gag, Booty, whatever. He's traveling to East Palestine today. Today, Thursday, February 23rd, he's supposed to show up because yesterday, Wednesday, February 22nd, President Trump showed up. And can't let Trump show up and not send somebody else in there because you don't want him to have all the praise for showing up, right? Like, that's how they're thinking about this. It says U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete B will head to East Palestine, Ohio for the first time on Thursday, some 3 weeks after the hazardous train derailment there. With the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, expected to release a preliminary report on the derailment Thursday. It hasn't come out yet. I've been checking. Pete B will receive an update from the agency on their investigation into the incident, the U.S. Transportation Department said. He will be able, listen to this. He will be able to, this is their quote, hear from U.S. DOT investigators who are on the ground within hours of the derailment to support the NTSB's investigation. Support it, meaning no matter what they say, they're going to go along with it, even if it's complete BS.